Hey there, wanted to hop on and talk about this really hot topic to me because it comes up so often with clients, students, friends, and myself. And this is for those who are really already committed to the inner journey, to already do their inner work on the regular and are looking to expand consciousness on a consistent basis. So we then get into a place where we feel like we're in the flow and we have little things that come up that show that we're really resistant to some important changes, but we're just masterful at hiding that from ourselves. And I always say the funniest part is the more masterful we get at the creation and consciousness expansion, the more masterful the ego gets at hiding in the cracks and crevices, to hold on to the things that it is comfortable with, and avoid letting go of certain things that it feels like it would not want to let go of. Now, the ego's not bad. I've never said it's bad. I always say it is simply a construct of the exploration of individuality and separation and exclusion and duality, right? This density that we're in. But that going along with that are things like fear and energies like that. And so the concept of identity is I want this to hold on to because I consider it part of my identity and I collect those things. And as we get into more expanded consciousness, we're letting go of those. So that's where we have inner resistance to change that we might not recognize as resistance to change. So let me give you an example. Say you have a trip that you would like to take and you're really pulled to do it, whether it's someplace you've never been before in this life, or it's to like a retreat or a class, or to see someone that you're really pulled to see, and or just to get a shift in perspective from where you've been. And say, you know what, I'm gonna make plans for this trip. And you put it on the calendar and you start making plans, and then lo and behold, everything related to this trip seems to be clunky. Like, the airlines, like you get bumped out of the airlines like 3 times. You can't find a hotel room or a rental car or something along those lines, and everything just doesn't feel aligned. And then suddenly something like, oh, you had to go take your car to get inspected and you didn't know you're going to have to get 4 new tires, and that's another $700 to $1,000 easily of money you didn't expect to spend. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I guess the universe is just telling me it's not the time for me to go. That's where we usually stop, even when we're really, really into our inner work and consciousness work. So what is missed in that situation? Do it all the time. The thing to put on a Post-it for ourselves and hang it up like in front of us is ask the next question. Ask the next question. So, because I do a lot of work in terms of messages that we give ourselves, cars represent locomotion to our goals, the locomotion to what we want to do or be or whatever. And if we suddenly have a problem with our car, it could have to do with, oh, wait a second, I'm throwing up blocks to myself to reach a goal that I would achieve by going on this trip. But we tend to not connect those dots. So the question to ask is, number one, are these two set of events like connected? Is the car breaking down and the clunkiness of making the plans for the trip connected with some inner resistance that I am not consciously seeing? And actually don't even ask, because typically, really the thing to do would be to say, show me what this is telling me about resistance I'm having to this trip. That's sort of just taking the wheel and saying, yeah, I'm seeing you, ego. I'm seeing what you're doing. But you can ask, is it from me? Like, is this showing me resistance to this trip? And if it is, let me see what that is. That's being present with it. Not should. So what we tend to do is say, should I take this trip? And a reminder that I want to talk about for a minute is, in that ego's exploration of identity and separation, there's that perception of right and wrong and good and bad. So when you say should, that implies there's a right and wrong. From expanded consciousness, there is no wrong choice. It is how it all fits in the big picture, right? And in creation or in manifestation of our intended creations, right? So we say, instead of should I do this, it's is it for me to do this right now? Before we even ask that, would be the question, am I throwing up resistance to myself? And not even doing that, let me see what this is showing me in terms of maybe having resistance within myself. That is a very subtle resistance to change that we don't recognize as resistance to change because we have so many things going on here. Because what can happen? Oh, now I'm lost in, oh my gosh, I can't believe I had to spend all this money on the car. Oh, I didn't intend on that. And that's such a bummer that I don't think I could go on this trip. And instead of doing further work and asking the next question, we stop. Ask yourself, what is that showing me? Is this connected? And what's the fear? What's the resistance for me to change so that I can create that for myself, instead of sitting there going, oh, I'll never have the money. I don't want to stretch myself financially to do this, blah, 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 blah. It is asking these questions, because then you say, okay, well, let me resolve this, and doing our inner work. Let me resolve this. Let me see what there is to resolve here. And then guess what? When that gets resolved, suddenly it'll be amazing that the money will show up. Or you might get a fantastic bargain on flights to go, or the hotel, or some freebie of a rental car, or something that you were not aware was going to happen. Because once you remove those blockages and that resistance to the change and opened up the path to get to that goal, everything was a green light all the way. Not only green light, but then you just sort of gave yourself a little bump by saying, oh, look, I got this for free, or I got this bonus, or I got this for a deal. So look at what might be going on with you that might be causing that, or that might be going on, that is for you to look at and ask that next question, because that can make all the difference. We'll see you next time.